So at the time of the upload of this video, we are 24 hours away from the Nintendo Switch 2 unveiling. And I say at the time of the upload for this video because I'm wearing the same clothes as I was wearing yesterday, so clearly I filmed this the day before this video went up live. But I have a lot of feelings about this. There's a lot of excitement in the air, and rightfully so. And me personally, I'm very excited for this for a bunch of different reasons. So I want to tell you guys why I'm excited about this, and then really kind of tell you guys what I expect and am hopeful to see at this event, because expectations are extremely high right now. I think everyone has built this Nintendo Switch 2 system up as something very big, not even just for Nintendo, but for video gaming in and of itself. Now, the reasons I'm excited for this are, I mean, obvious. I love new hardware. I love talking about new hardware. And I love all the things that come from talking about new hardware, because we're not just talking about a system. We're talking about an operating system. We're talking about an online infrastructure. We're talking about accessories for the system. We're talking about software for the system. We're talking about features of the system. Like, there's going to be so much stuff to cover, and I'm super excited to cover all that stuff for you guys. So if you're newer here and you've just been watching and you haven't hit sub yet, go ahead and hit sub and turn on notifications, because I'm going to be going full bore with all of this. Like, I feel like I'm going to have a lot of things to say, hopefully, you know, mostly positive. Obviously, I'm not going to love everything about the system, but I'm very hopeful for it in that sort of manner, because I feel like this is bigger than just Nintendo. Like, this is something for video gaming. Video gaming is kind of, you know, it's kind of in a little bit of a rut right now. You know, we have Xbox putting everything on PlayStation. We have Xbox probably putting everything on the Switch too. You have PlayStation, who's in a restructuring phase because they wanted to do all these live service games, and then people were like, no, we told you we don't want them. So I'm hoping that Nintendo is able to bring some fun back into the gaming space, and at least conversations, you know, at least some interesting conversations to be had. And obviously, I mean, I'm very excited for money, because I'm going to make some good money talking about all of this stuff, because like I'm telling you guys, I'm going to be on top of this stuff like a fly to shit. Like, I'm going to be all over this. If there is anything interesting that I see, you might get 5 videos in a day if it comes down to it. I am locked in for this because it's awesome. It's super exciting. So with all of that out of the way, let's talk about my hopes, desires, and dreams. Now, this isn't everything, because I could talk for like an hour about everything that I would want. But when it comes to what I want, and what I'm hopeful for, and what I'm expecting, let's get an easy one out of the way here. I am expecting the new 3D Mario game to be at this event. Like, it has been far too long since we had a new 3D Mario game. You know, obviously we had Bowser's Fury, which was an extension of Super Mario 3D World. Super Mario Odyssey was a tremendous game, arguably one of my, if not my favorite games on the Nintendo Switch. But, you know, Odyssey came out very early in the Switch's life cycle. Super Mario 3D World came out a few years after that, but it's been very quiet on the 3D Mario front. And I always enjoy, like, even a bad 3D Mario game minus Super Mario Sunshine can be a really enjoyable game. I think this is a graphical showcase sort of thing, you know, for the system. What has Nintendo been working on? What have they concocted? And what type of game for 3D Mario is this going to be? Is it going to be Super Mario Odyssey 2, Super Mario Galaxy 3, more play like Bowser's Fury sort of thing, like a full-on Bowser's Fury game that's like pseudo open world and open-ended in how you attack different things? I think it's going to be very interesting to see how this plays out, and what sort of you know, direction that they take Mario into for this new system. Let's talk about another franchise, The Legend of Zelda. There has been quite a bit of talks about Zelda being at this event, which to me, I mean, obviously, with Tears of the Kingdom, it just seems a bit too soon as far as how all of that is going to work for a new 3D Zelda Mario game. But there's been lots of rumors that possibly a remake of a Zelda game could be at this event, such as, Twilight Princess and Wind Waker HD, or a full on remake like an Ocarina of Time 3D remake, which I think would be absolutely awesome. But I'm not so sure. Like, I feel like The Legend of Zelda is kind of in a bit of a weird predicament right now. I wouldn't be surprised if Zelda was there in terms of a 4K 60 frame per second version of something like Breath of the Wild, a deluxe edition of the game, if you will. There is, of course, that whole virtual card situation and all of the interesting things that come from the virtual card. I think that will be explained a bit more in detail because of the fact that they obviously couldn't say everything that this really meant when we're talking about the Switch 2 during that Nintendo Direct presentation, because of the fact that, I mean, it obviously plays into the Switch 2 in some way, shape, or form. Now, there are people that are hopeful that all of your games are going to be automatically enhanced and stuff like that. I don't think that's the case. That would be amazing if it was the case, but I'm not quite sure that I'm of the mindset that that is going to be written in stone. But if that's how you get Zelda there, then hey, that's how you get Zelda there. I think there's going to be a new IP from Nintendo at this as well. Something very kind of funky, something a bit different, something a bit off the beaten path, something that nobody's really anticipating or expecting. Maybe not a launch day game, but a launch window game within like the first 3 months or so for that. I don't really know where to go when I'm saying that. Think of something like ARMS, think of something like 1-2 Switch, just kind of a bit of a different game, or a take on a genre that we haven't exactly seen Nintendo take on before. Another thing I think is going to be there in full force are third parties. We've already heard all this mixed messaging about, oh, well, there's different phases for the system, and, some third-party developers don't have it. Those third-party developers that do not have a Switch 2 dev kit are smaller companies. Like, you honestly believe that Capcom's not going to be there. You honestly believe that Ubisoft's not going to be there. You honestly believe that 2K isn't going to be there. You honestly believe that EA isn't going to be there. Like, that's ridiculous, bro. That's ridiculous. Like, I'm expecting a barrage of games that released on things like the PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5 and Xbox One and Xbox Series to get ports over to the Switch. I'm expecting, native versions of things like the Resident Evil games, and I'm hopeful for that. It'd be cool to have those on a native version when on a system, that's not having to utilize cloud or anything, that you can have a physical cartridge with. But that's something I actually want to bring up next, because now we're getting into, I played it very safe with those predictions, because, that's just kind of the easy, that's the low hanging fruit here. But the stuff I kind of want to explore a bit more with you guys is the physical media stuff, because I think that brings up a very interesting discussion, because it's going to happen one of two ways. Either a vast majority of these third-party games are going to release digital only, or they're going to require a download or hell of compression to fit onto a cartridge, because a lot of these companies don't want to use the bigger Nintendo Switch cartridges because they cost money to manufacture compared to something like a Blu-ray does. So that's the reason why we saw so many games that required an additional download when it came to the Nintendo Switch side of things with third-party games. Now, obviously, Nintendo's going to do everything they can within their power to put their first-party games on there, but have we now exceeded to the 64-megabyte cartridge? Do we have bigger cartridges? Is the cartridge the exact same? I think there's a lot. There is a lot within that, because if the cartridge is the exact same, then most of these games that I'm talking about, especially third-party games, are going to require hefty downloads. And then you get into the whole conversation of, well, how much storage is the system going to have? Because realistically, I'm hopeful for 256, considering this is Nintendo. And obviously, you can get your micro SD cards. I have my micro express card ready, 256 gigs. But like, there has to be some sort of thing going on here that will allow for these games to come to the platform, but still be a manageable file size. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, that's a big game. Final Fantasy VII Remake, that's a big game. And these are games that people are expecting to potentially show up for the Nintendo Switch 2. Another thing I want to talk about is really just everything encompassing online with the Switch. And I get where the direction they were going with the Switch 1 with online, but it was the wrong direction. Like like I said in yesterday's video, which I didn't even read the comments of that because I'm sure I offended some parents out there. Parents need to parent their children. They need to take accountability for what their children are doing. And Nintendo needs to stop trying to be a parent and restricting adults who like to play on their systems by not allowing basic online features. This whole thing needs to be revamped. The cell phone app, all of that crap, just to talk to someone, get rid of it. Start from scratch with this. Build up something new, build up something better when it comes to the online portion of things. And that extends into the eShop as well. You need to have an eShop that actually functions. The eShop is an absolute mess right now. Trying to navigate it, there's tons of slowdown. You can't really browse. I like to browse. I go on my Xbox. That's how I buy a lot of Xbox games. And that's why sometimes when I'm on the Spawncast, I'll mention that I'm playing some quirky Xbox game that nobody's heard of before because I'm just browsing through stuff. You can't really do that on the Switch. So I'm hopeful that the Switch 2 it's just better built in that sort of manner, built to handle online connectivity with this sort of thing. But really, like I said at the start, man, the biggest thing I want out of this system is just to bring some damn fun and excitement back into gaming. It's been interesting and almost a lot of negativity stems from it. And I get it. I feed into the negativity sometimes. But I'm just I'm tired of a lot of tropes of the video game industry that seem to not be getting any better. I'm tired of a lot of the cliches that we see and the similarities from this game to this game to this game. Oh, look, it's another one of those. It's another one of those. It's another one of those. And, oh, you got to wait 6 years for this to come out. Here's a game that comes out in 2 years that we're talking about at the start of 2025. And it's like, well, what's in the meantime? What's going to happen between then and now? What am I playing between then and now? And really, if there's one company that can shake things up, either in a positive way or a negative way, it is always going to be Nintendo. And so, with all that being said, I am extremely excited for this event, man. I'm probably not going to live stream it or anything like that because I think no disrespect, I feel like a lot of people put on for the live stream stuff, the super excitement and stuff like that. And that's just not me. That's not me. I would rather watch, take down my notes and formulate my opinions and then film my video, kind of scripting it in my head as the presentation goes along because I feel like it's a bit more genuine. You actually let it settle a little bit inside of you. And there's going to be so many different facets to talk about with this. I might actually do 2 videos tomorrow. One just covering the whole presentation and then one covering details about the presentation that maybe some people might have missed out on or, just different aspects of it because I can't that video is going to be so long if I just try to do everything in one video. Anyways, guys, I'm kind of rambling a little bit, but let me know, man, what are your hype levels at? Are you ready? Are you ready for this? Are you ready? And as always, guys, thank you for checking out this video. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. It's finally here, baby. Let's have some fun. Let's make some money. And let's get some great games and have some fun discussions. And as always, I'll catch you guys on the next damn video. Later.